Welcome to my little corner of the internet, where we celebrate creativity and growth. Greetings, explorers of knowledge. Join us as we embark on a quest to understand Roman Catholic Diocese of Asti. The Diocese of Asti is a Latin diocese of the Catholic Church in Piedmont, northern Italy, centered in the city of Asti. It has been a suffragan of the Archdiocese of Turin since 1515. Previous to that, it was a suffragan of the Archdiocese of Milan. The diocese lost territory in 1175 when the Diocese of Alessandria was created. It lost a considerable amount of its ancient territory when the Diocese of Mondovì was established in 1388 by Urban VI. It lost territory again when the Diocese of Casale was created in 1474, and again in 1511 at the creation of the Diocese of Saluzzo. In 1592 the Diocese of Fossano was assigned more of Asti's territory. As we venture forward, let's examine history in detail and gain a deeper appreciation for its significance. There has been some controversy as to the beginning of the Diocese of Asti and the Episcopate of St. Evatius, once placed by some at much earlier dates. The Diocese of Asti itself fixes the beginning of the diocese in the 5th century. Scholars have suggested that more than one figure came to melt into the tale of St. Evatius, thus making it extremely difficult to use the existing material as an historical source. The situation is so confused that some historians list 5 different St. Evatiuses. Lanzoni notes a purported Evatius in 261, another in 364, a third in 389, a fourth in 419, and the fifth in the time of King Liutprand. A catalogue of bishops of Asti, written in 1606, assigns him a date of 783. The first known bishop of Asti was Pastor in 451. Bishop Audax 926 obtained the confirmation of the liberties of the Church of Asti from King Berengarius, and was a friend of Rudolph of Burgundy. He sought to have his canons called cardinals, as they were at S. Eusebio in Vercelli. The bishops of Asti were feudatory vassals of the Holy Roman Empire and of the Counts Dukes of Savoy. In turn, they were feudal overlords of fiefs belonging to Carvaglia, Castellanaldo, Montaldo, Monturoro, P. Monticelli, Pocapaglia, Govone, Vezza, Celerindo, South. Vittoria, South. Stefano Roro, Piopsi, Monleono, Cosumbrotto, Castagnito, and Castellano de Voltis. Also subject to the Bishop of Asti were the abbeys of Santi Apostoli, South. Anastasio, and South. Cristoforo in the city of Asti, South. Bartolomeo da Zonno, and South. Dalmazio de Pedana. The bishops had also been given the monastery of South. Maria de Carmenia in the Diocese of Turin by Pope Calixtus II. There was a house of the Knights Templar in Asti, called the Domus Hospitalis Soldani, as early as 1182. It belonged to the Lombard province and came to an end, along with the Templars, in 1312. In the 14th century, the city of Asti became subject to the kings of Naples, and then to the Visconti of Milan. Galeazzo Visconti gave Asti to Louis of Valois, Duke of Orleans, son of King Charles V of France. Asti became part of the French kingdom until it was handed over to the Duchy of Savoy in 1575. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of the French Republic and Napoleonic Empire. During the French occupation, between 1802 and 1805, Piedmont was annexed to metropolitan France and divided into 6 departments: Ivry or Dora, Moringo, Po or Aragon, Sofia, Stura, and Tanoro. Asti was made the capital of the French department of Tanoro. At the imperial reorganization in 1805 and then from 1805 to 1814 it was part of the department of Moringo, whose capital was at Alessandria. The department was under the jurisdiction of a French prefect. The French government, in the guise of ending the practices of feudalism, confiscated the incomes and benefice of the bishops and priests and made them employees of the state, with a fixed income and the obligation to swear an oath of loyalty to the French constitution. As in metropolitan France, the government program also included reducing the number of bishoprics and making them conform as far as possible with the civil administration's departments. In accordance with the Concordat of 1801, and at the demand of the first consul North, Bonaparte, Pope Pius VII was compelled to issue the Bull Gravissimis Causes 1 June 1803, in which the number of dioceses in Piedmont was reduced from 17 to 8, Turin, Vercelli, Ivry, Acqui, Asti, Mondovì, Alessandria and Saluzzo. The details of the new geographical divisions were left in the hands of Cardinal Giovanni Battista Caprara, the papal legate in Paris. In 1805 the Diocese of Alba Pompeia was suppressed and its territory was entrusted to the Bishop of Asti. Cardinal Caprara issued his instructions for the reordering of the parishes of the Diocese of Asti on 23 January 1805. When Bishop Pietro Arbario Gattinara died in January 1809, the Emperor of the French, Napoleon I, nominated as Bishop of Asti Franois and Dijon, but he could not obtain his bulls from Rome, and then Pius VII became a prisoner of the French government. Dijon served as Vicar Capitular, though without proper credentials, governing the Church of Asti and Alba until 1814. With the end of the French Empire, Dijon was expelled from Asti, which he had been holding illegitimately. He was sent to Ivry, where he remained for a year before being repatriated to France, where he died in 1820. After Waterloo, the Congress of Vienna agreed to the restoration of the Kingdom of Sardinia and the Papal States, both of which were in a state of disarray because of French political and administrative actions. The confused situation of the diocese in Piedmont was addressed by Pope Pius VII in his bull Beati Petri 17 July 1817, as far as the redrawing of diocesan boundaries was concerned. Following the restoration, the new Bishop of Asti, Antonio Fei di Bruno, fell afoul of the forces of reaction and of constitutionalism by making imprudent remarks about constitutionalism in Spain. Pope Pius VII had him relegated to a monastery, and Fei never took possession of his diocese, as he records in his own memorial inscription in the Giz in Rome. Asti was thus without a bishop for 2 decades. As we enter this new phase, let's navigate the complexities of synods and discover its practical applications. A diocesan synod was an important legislative and disciplinary tool available to a bishop. In the company of his priests he could introduce new legislation from outside the diocese, from provincial councils, from general church councils, and from the papacy. He could issue his own decrees, and publicly require cooperation with church policies. The earliest synod of which there is any record is that held by Bishop Guido de Valpaga on 7 May 1316. Another was held by Bishop Arnoldus de Rosito in May 1328. Bishop Scipio Damiani held his first synod in 1471, and Bishop Barcinis Malabela on 21 August 1474. Another was held by Bishop Pietro Damiani at the beginning of his episcopate. He held a second synod in the Episcopal Palace on 8 March 1485. Bishop Domenico della Rova published the constitutions of his fourth diocesan synod of 15 April 1578. And of his 8th Diocesan Synod of 1584. Bishop Franciscus Panicarola published the decrees of his first Diocesan Synod of 30 August 1588. His second was held on 7 November 1591 and his third on 18 November 1593. He had announced a fourth, but died before it was held. These synods were important for the implementation of the decrees of the Council of Trent. Bishop Giovanni Stefano Aggiozza published constitutions and decrees from his first diocesan synod held on 23 October 1597. He took care to have his own and papal decrees published in Italian translation. He held his second synod on 24 October 1601, and his third on 19 April 1605. Bishop Isidoro Pentorio held a synod in 1620. Others were held by Bishop Ottavio Broglia on 22 April 1627, 17 May 1634, 5 November 1643, and in 1646, by Bishop Paolo Vincenzo Roveria on 13 December 1660, by Bishop Marco Antonio Tomati on 14 April 1670, and in 1677, by Bishop Innocenzo Magliavecchia in 1699, by Bishop Giovanni Todone on 29 August 1730, and by Bishop Paolo Cesotti on 29 June 1785. Statutes and decrees were published in each case. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine cathedral and chapter and its connections to our previous discussions. The original cathedral was destroyed in 1073. Its successor was dedicated by Pope Urban II, perhaps in 1096. The third was begun by Bishop Guido de Valpaga in 1295, or perhaps in 1309 or 1323 or 1333. It was completed in 1768. Bishop Hildunis had been present at the election of the Emperor Charles the Bald as King of Italy in 876, and had consented to the regulations enacted at the time. One of them declared that bishops should provide next to their cathedral an enclosed space claustrum in which they and their clergy should serve God according to a canonical rule. No evidence indicates whether his commitment went beyond his signature, but canons existed in Asti 30 years later. On 7 May 907, Pope Sergius III confirmed, at Bishop Audac's own request, all the possessions, rights and privileges which Bishop Audax had granted to the canons. On 25 July 1169, the canons themselves obtained a papal bull from Pope Alexander II, taking their corporation and its property under the protection of the Holy See. The bull lists a considerable number of estates and properties that belonged to the cathedral chapter at that time. One of the celebrated members of the chapter was the archpriest Alberto de Coconato, who became a cardinal in 1261 and participated in 4 papal elections and the Second Council of Lyon 1274. In 1693 the cathedral chapter consisted of 4 dignities and 15 canons. The dignities were the archdeacon, the provost, the archpriest and the cantor. By 1757 the number of canons had increased to 24. There were also 3 collegiate churches in Asti. The first, the Collegiate Church of San Secondo, had a chapter headed by a provost and a cantor, with 10 canons. A second was south. Martino, the third south. Paolo, which had chaplains instead of canons. They were all abolished in the 19th century. Get ready to uncover the mysteries surrounding seminary as we navigate its intriguing terrain. The Council of Trent in its 23rd session, meeting on 15 July 1563, issued a decree whose 18th chapter required that every diocese have a seminary for the training of clergy. A seminary was therefore opened in Asti in 1577 by Bishop Domenico della Rova in a house next to the Church of South. Ilario, which had once been a parish church but had been suppressed and united with the cathedral in 1565. Initial funding came from a 10% tax on all benefice in the diocese councilled in 1588, but eventually an endowment was created by attaching 14 churches to the seminary to provide incomes for the clerics. The seminary had to be closed between 1630 and 1642. Due to the war between France and the Emperor Charles V, fought mostly in Savoy. The number of students was supposed to be 25, but in 1695 there were only 12, and the premises were in a state of neglectful disrepair. Bishop Innocenzo Magliavecchia, at the Diocesan Synod of November 1695, issued a set of statutes for the seminary and undertook repairs, and in 1699 the building was rededicated. In 1742 there were from most advanced to least 16 students in theology, 14 in philosophy, 2 in rhetoric, 16 in the humanities, and 9 in grammar. By 1762 the old building was completely decrepit, and Bishop Paolo Maurizio Cesotti, at the very beginning of his episcopate in 1762, launched the construction of a completely new building, which was completed in 1775. From 1764 to 1890 the seminary was under the direction of the Congregation of Oblate Priests of South Eusebio Villafranca's Asti. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting to 1300 and exploring its implications in greater detail. Pastor C 451, a Maorianus C 465, a Benedictus C 680, a Bernalpha C 800, a Ildoinus C 880, Josephus Storax C Alophus C 901, 902, Audax 904, 926, Bruningus Rosone Petrus Auricus 1008, Dec 1036, Obitus C 1037, Petrus Guglielmo Wybertinus attested 1046, Guido attested 1049, Gerolmo C 1065, Inga C 1080, Oten I after 1098, Landolfo Oten Nazarius attested 1143, Anselmus Guilelmus Nazarius Bonifacius Guidotto Jacobus Porta Umbitus Obitus Bonifacius de Coconato Conradus de Coconato Obitus Seed vacant O Guido de Valperga. As we move forward, let's uncover the untold stories and fascinating intricacies of from 1300 to 1600. Arnoldus de Rosito Baldratus Malabela Jonas Malabela Franois Morozzi died, Antonius de Violi Roman obedience, Francis Cascali Avignon obedience, Jonas Patriarch of Antioch Administrator Avignon obedience, Albertus Gahorio Zagliano Bernardo Landrini Filippo Bordo Roro Scipio Damiono Barcinis Malabela Pietro Damioni Raphael de Siba Antonio Trivolzio Albertino Roro Rover 1508 Antonio Trivolzio Scaramuzza Trivolzio Administrator 1519 Vecino Malabela died, Fernando de Girona OSA appointed Bishop of Venusa Ambrogio Tolento died, Agostino Trivolzio resigned, Scipione Roro died, Agostino Trivolzio died, Bernardino della Croce the appointed Bishop of Como das Barcapras died, Domenico della Rova Bishop OP died, Francesco Panigarola OFM Caesar Benzio died. Let's now turn our attention to from 1600 to 1900 and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table. Giovanni Stefano Aggiozza died, Isidoro Pentorio he died, Ottavio Broglia died, Paolo Vincenzo Roveria he died, Marco Antonio Tomati died, Innocenzo Migliovica Osist. Seed vacant Giovanni Todone. Seed vacant Giuseppe Filippo Felicino Giovanni Filippo Antonio San Martini Paolo Maurizio Casotti C.O. Pietro Arborio Gattinara. Seed vacant Antonio Fei di Bruno. Seed vacant Michele Matorlo Betty Filippo Artico. Seed vacant Carlo Sovio Giuseppe Rocco died. As we progress through this video, let's now turn our gaze towards since 1900. Giacinto Arcangeli of February 1909 died, Luigi Spandra Umberto Rossi died, Giacomo Canonero died, Vito Nicola Cavana died, Franco Sibilla resigned, Severino Paoletta appointed, Archbishop of Turin Francesco Guido Ravenel Marco Prastoro. Welcome to the next segment, where we explore parishes and its significance in our journey. A list of the 107 parishes of the diocese, arranged by vicariate as they were in 1894, was printed by Gaetano Bosio in Storia della Chiesa d'Asti. The modern diocese, which currently covers an area of 1,451, is divided into 128 parishes. The majority are in the province of Asti, while the rest are divided between the provinces of Alessandria and Turin. Since 1980, the diocese has closed and consolidated 13 parishes. The Diocese of Asti maintains web pages listing the parishes in the diocese with mailing addresses. For a listing of parishes by province and commune, see List of parishes of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Asti. Get ready for a captivating exploration as we unravel the layers of reference works and their profound significance. In Latin. In this section, we'll be exploring studies. Bosio, Gaspar 1894. Storia della Chiesa d'Asti Asti, Michele Cipolla, Carlo 1887. Di Ordis Vescovo di Asti e di due documenti inediti che lo riguardano Torino e Cipolla, Carlo 1890. Di Bruningo Vescovo d'Asti e di tre documenti inediti che lo riguardano Fossano, GNG Como 1973. Problemi della documentazione vescovile astigiana per I secoli XXII, Bollettino storico bibliografico subalpino, 71 1973. Fossano, GNG Como 1995. Problemi della documentazione vescovile astigiana per I secoli XXII. In La memoria del Cheese. Cancelleri vescovili e culture neutrali nels Italia centro settentrional secoli XXIII. I Floraligi 4. Scriptorium, Torino. Care, Paul Fridolin 1914. Italia Pontificia, Sive, Repertorium Privilegium et Literarum Romanis Pontificibus ante annum 1598 Italia Ecclesias, Monasterias, Civitatibus Singulis Scrupusinus Concessorum. Vol. 6. Parsi. Brolini, Weidman. Lanzoni, Francesco 1927. La Diocese Italia dall'origine al principio del secolo VIII. 604. Funza, Fahrenheit. Liga. 830, 834, 840 Auschwitz, Gerhard 1907. Die Besetzung der Bismarck Reichsitaliens unter den Succession unsalischen Käsen, mit den Wissen der Bischof, 951, 1122. Leipzig, B.G. Teubner. In German Varsalo, Carlo 1881, Du Epigraphi nella Cattedrale d'Asti, Archivio Storico Italiano Tomo VII Fiennes, 1881. I'm here to provide you with the best information, so let me know what else you'd like to learn about.